I like to write the kind of thing which destroys things people take for granted. Because I think original thinking can only come when we have discarded the idea of taking anything for granted. In that sense, that's why, for instance, I usually attack people's ideas of morality, precisely because morality is one of the things taken for granted by the majority of citizens. That this is not done, that this is not permissible, this is impossible, this is not done. I try to write in such a way that I short-circuit, like in electricity, I short-circuit people's traditions and morals. Because once you've done that, only then can they start having original thoughts of their own. And in a sense, stop thinking in a sort of constitutional, I would like people to stop thinking in an institutionalized way. Then, if they stop thinking like that, and they look in the mirror, they'll see how beautiful they are. And all those impossibilities within themselves, emotionally and intellectually. That's why, most of what I've written is always seen as being disruptive or destructive. For me, that slow brain death I was talking about can only be cured by this kind of literary shock treatment. I don't think...
in that way, I think you are very engaged, right? And in the meantime, the government is having a totally different viewpoint on that.
Of course.
In my eyes, you're very engaged, right? In your country, yeah. I think you feel basically very responsible for what's going on. And express it in your own way. Isn't that true?
Of course. I look, it's I do not like impossibilities. Wait, I think I spoke too much. I don't like people to think in terms of that, the impossible or the improbable. If they can break through the barriers of the probable, the barriers of the impossible, then yeah, it will be great. But then responsibility, yes. As a writer, yes, I feel that word echoing in my head all the time. But I see my responsibility as a writer being, if I may say so, not so much to society as such, but to my voice. If I can give the example of Cassandra. You remember, for instance, that she obtained prophetic powers after the god Apollo had approached her for sex, and she refused. And then the Apollo said, well, just give me one kiss and I'll leave you alone. And she said, okay. But then as he was kissing her, he suddenly spat into her mouth. He spat his saliva into her mouth and immediately laughed at her and said, I've right now given you the power to see into the future and to talk about it, but no one will ever believe you. In this sense, I don't know, I tend to see the writer, and I'm talking about the serious writer, not so much about, let's say, the thriller writers, no. The writer who is engaged, the writer who is committed, I tend to see him or her as a kind of Cassandra figure, with all this enormous talent to actually analyze or visualize intensively people's destinies and to write them, but then with only to be cursed by censorship, by persecution, by whatever, for having that talent. But then, precisely because you've got that talent, you cannot repress it. You must continually activate and make to come into being your talent, in spite of any opposition from any quarter. That's how I see myself in some ways, as well as all those other writers who have experienced the disapproval of society, or even merely the disapproval of friends, family, or nation. One has to go on. If I am a committed writer, that's what I'm committed to. And you see, a vision like that transcends any political program. This is one of the difficulties I have in writing, because here in Zimbabwe, because people here try to analyze everything from the particular contemporary political view. They don't see what you have written as something for all time. That what you have written, or if you are singing what you are singing, is a voice for all time, and not just for this particular set of political circumstances. But then you see, people will always insist that which side are you on? What are your politics, Dambudzo? Are you a capitalist? Are you a socialist? Are you this or that? And then may I say, look, I don't have any, I'm not a capitalist, I'm not a socialist, I'm not anything else, any label. But I am what I write in my books. And they say, well, what is it in your books? And then may I say, well, look, go home and read them, and then make up your own mind.